We can do a lot of stuff in here, but let's just stay away from the politics these days. Okay, so. So, this is, like, based on lobes. This is the frontal lobe, right? Sometimes mine doesn't work as well as it should. I make bad decisions. This is going to be the central sulcus. This is going to be what? Precentral gyrus, and that is also called the primary motor cortex. This is the post-central gyrus, or the primary somatosensory cortex. And both of these structures are going to have that little homunculus guy. Remember him? Like the big lips and the big hand sitting on the surface. So it's a topographical arrangement. You'll probably see that again in lecture. So posterior to the central sulcus is going to be the parietal lobe here. So this is the parietal lobe. And most posteriorly is going to be the occipital lobe here, where we have the primary visual cortex and the visual association areas. But we can see the boundary between the occipital lobe and the parietal lobe here at the parieto-occipital sulcus. On the mid-sagittal view of the brain, I really need to start watching more TV so I can like hone in on my cultural and my pop culture references, because I feel like some of them are a little bit outdated. I haven't been watching enough TV, which is probably a good thing, but I can improve there, right? Put that on my review. Like needs to update his pop culture references. Are the Jonas Brothers coming into town? I heard some. They already came. Okay, was it just this last weekend? Okay, because I was tutoring some, and I think they were going. Okay, so this is the corpus callosum. It's going to be a band of white matter that interconnects the two hemispheres of the cerebral cortex. Here. There's going to be a membrane. We don't see it, but the membrane here, we saw it in the sheep brain. I don't know if it was in this section, but at one point, let's see in this semester, there's going to be a membrane that separates the anterior horns of the lateral ventricle here, and that's called the septum pellucidum. This is going to be the band of white matter that overlies the thalamus, which is the fornix. What do we see here in pink? Choroid plexus. What is that going to produce? Cerebrospinal fluid. And that's going to be found in this area that's in between the two hemispheres of the thalamus, which is the third ventricle. In terms of the neural tissue here, this is the thalamus. There are going to be two hemispheres of it. The interthalamic adhesion is going to connect both hemispheres of the thalamus. This is the hypothalamus. And this is the pineal gland, which will produce melatonin. It also produces, I guess in small amounts when you're sleeping, DMT, which is a hallucinogenic drug. If you, what's that? Yeah, it influences dreams.
Yeah, it would be in the
Can I ask a question? This is like
cerebrum.
off topic, but
like where the
I know that with children, a lot of their
left and
connections
right
and stuff
hemisphere.
feel corny as a girl. Is that something that they
I mean, I remember dreams I had, I remember one dream I had as a kid, I don't know how young I was, but I would assume, I don't know when
when it starts.
dreaming starts, that's a good question, but, that's kind of like a developmental,
Yeah, these would
Neural
be the
science
ones with the A,
question,
yeah,
but,
this is
um,
third, and then this
yeah, that would be
is
interesting.
fourth, yeah, it would be by the cerebrum and the pons, or cerebellum, be where the rest would be. You just can't
Yeah,
see
sometimes
it.
that's tough,
Yeah, you
like,
can't see them in there. Maybe that other.
like sometimes I'll
Yeah,
be looking
he's
for
got
something,
the
or I'll be like,
one.
oh, I think it's in here,
What number is
or I'm
that?
like, oh, no, that was
620.
just a dream.
Or I guess
Yeah,
20.
so, I think that that's kind of like your memory encoding, if it's
Yeah.
happening in a dream, then if it was vivid enough, then you might have encoded it as being like a real life experience. That's probably, I would assume that that's probably issues that some people have, where it's like they have dreams, and then they remember them as being part of their real life, but they were actually dreams, which is probably considered problematic for the person, because they're not being able to equate their real life experience with their dream world.
I mean,
But then again,
I have a
that's a
whole
question
nervous
for a psychiatrist, not
system.
me.
oh, there's this
Well, the
like an
pineal,
overview
well,
that has
so
all
the
of it.
pineal
You
is going
can't
to
like
secrete
find it in
melatonin,
that
basically just kind of like,
of the.
it regulates
Oh,
your
this-
sleep
this
wake
one.
cycle, so it makes you feel
Oh,
more
they have
drowsy.
that one.
So,
This is the one I need
the
to
pineal gland, here is the cerebral
Like this?
aqueduct. That's going to take the cerebrospinal fluid from the third ventricle, down to the fourth ventricle here, which is this wedge-shaped structure. And then the, cerebrospinal fluid will leave through the, central canal in the spinal cord. For the brainstem, there are gonna be three parts to the brainstem. There's the
Brain.
midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. Here on the mid-sagittal section through the brain, we can see the arbor vitae, or the tree of life. And that's about it for the mid-sagittal view. There are also the colliculi here, so the superior colliculus and the inferior colliculus, but I don't think that's on your list, even though we saw it in the sheet brain. But I won't overwhelm you right now. You're like,